Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 7 articles in this episode for you, and all the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. The first one here is off of BizPack Review, and it says McDonald's worker jumps out of the drive-thru window to save a cop's life. A former police officer's life was saved thanks to the quick actions of a McDonald's drive-thru worker. Gloria found himself jumping through the drive-up window that he usually serves food from the Miami area restaurant on Tuesday, according to WPLG-TV. An off-duty Miami-Dade police officer pulled up to the window, children in the back seat, and paid for her food. But when Valoria turned to deliver the food, he knew something wasn't right. Like inflating her neck, like trying to breathe, like basically I thought she was try this again, like and basically I thought something was going wrong, he said. Consciousness, her foot reportedly slipped off the brake and the car rolled forward. I thought, oh my God, this woman is unconscious and I've got to do something because she's going to crash maybe, Valoria told WPLG. Surveillance video from the restaurant showed him jumping through the window and the SUV just missing another car before hitting a curb. Thankfully, another customer who happened to be a paramedic jumped out and assisted Gloria with the unconscious police officer. Amazingly, an off-duty Miami-Dade fire rescue member walked in for breakfast just a few moments later and along with his partner jumped in to help. Another McDonald's employee trained in CPR had been keeping the woman alive until the first responder took over. The officer survived, but her identity and condition were not released. The real heroes are the fire rescuers, Valoria said, glad that the woman was alive. The next article that I have is also about McDonald's. Western journalism, unfortunately, whoops, well, hang on there. Unfortunately, it is not as McDonald's as the last one. Here we go. Western journalism, and the hamster's trying to catch up to me. It says McDonald's tweet ridicules Trump before it gets deleted, and there is video in this. It says Twitter had some major to chew on Thursday morning after McDonald's sent a tweet to President Donald Trump and then suddenly deleted the message. Shortly after 8 a.m., McDonald's corporate Twitter account had a message ridiculing Trump. It was deleted shortly after it was posted, although the fast food giant did not at first reply. It later issued a statement claiming its corporate Twitter account had been hacked. Let's see here. The McDonald's tweet that came from corporate says, Twitter notified us their account was compromised. We deleted the tweet, secured our account. Now investigating, try this again, and are now investigating this. Hamster keeps jumping around on me. It's hard to keep up here. Okay, it says, however, this morsel, stop jumping. Feel like I'm trying to read off a Mexican jumping bean here. Okay, about to settle down. Okay, however, the morsel, this delicious, could not be overlooked by others on Twitter. And the tweet that they're talking about, at Real Donald Trump, you are actually disgusting excuse for a president, and we would love to have Barack Obama back. You also have tiny hands. The stuff, man, I tell you. Somebody else tweets here, break. U.S. Ambassador of McDonald's Chris Christie calls counterpart at McDonald's Corporation seeking explanation for the tweet. And then there's a picture of the Hamburglar with a cell phone in his hand behind that McDonald's Trump tweet. Oh my goodness. And then there's another one with a picture of the Burger King, and it says McDonald's Twitter account hacked. Police release photo of suspected hacker. It's Burger King. Oh, and uh, there's more tweets and stuff in this. If you want to pull them up and read them, they're really hysterical. Oh my! One even has a picture of Trump eating McDonald's, and he's got McDonald's all laid out in front of him. Oh my goodness. And then it finishes up by saying Trump, self-proclaimed fan of fast food, has been photographed with McDonald's meals. Oh my. The next article we have here off of RT, and it says obligated to share rules for spying on journalists. The judge's rule. Judge has ruled that not only is it okay for the FBI to spy on journalists, but that it can withhold information about its rules for snooping on reporters without a warrant. Press Foundation, or the FPF, sued the Department of Justice in July of 2015, 2 years after the Associated Press reported that the DOJ had seized 2 months' worth of phone records from journalists, and possibly more than 100, in an attempt to discover the source of a leak about a CIA operation that foiled a terror plot in Yemen. The DOJ investigated James Rosen, chief Washington correspondent for Fox News, as a possible co-conspirator material, after AP reported that the DOJ secretly pursued a warrant to monitor the communications of the Newswire staff. AP President Gary Pruitt claimed that anonymous sources retreated into silence, afraid that they would become a target of a government leak investigation. The backlash forced the DOJ to release guidelines that meant to bar the government from issuing subpoenas to journalists unless certain high standards were met. However, those guidelines, published in July of 2013, they did not prevent FBI agents from using national security letters, or NSLs, the approval of FBI General Counsel and the Executive Assistance Director of the Bureau's National Security Branch to gain a journalist's phone and internet records. Such NSLs come with a gag order barring the service provider from discussing the letters approximately 97% of the time, according to Courthouse News. The results use of NSLs were governed by classified Appendix G, which were neither made public nor mentioned by the FBI in the list of documents it was withholding EF's FOIA request. They were revealed thanks to a leak to The Intercept in 2016. The organization argued in court documents that information secret was chilling the press and its sources. Guidelines to protect the press and bolster their right to issues public matters are not there, FPF attorney Marshall Hoffman told U.S. District Judge Haywood Gilliam Jr. at a hearing last August. The want to disclose that because that's embarrassing to him. Gilliam disagreed with the assessment in his ruling, however, noting that the FBI described with particularity that the withheld documents all contained non-public information about the FBI's investigative techniques and procedures. These pages not only identified NSLs as an investigative technique, but also described the information, such as the circumstance under which the techniques should be used, information gathered through these techniques, and the current focus of the FBI's investigation. Just because the FBI didn't include Appendix G in the list of documents in its FOIA response, that its did not mean that its search was insufficient. While the FBI's search may not have been perfect, plaintiff was entitled to a reasonable search for records, not a perfect one, he wrote, quoting the Ninth Circuit's 2015 ruling in Hamdan versus DOJ. Ruling means that reporters won't have access to any updated guidelines on the use of NSLs beyond what is revealed by the Intercept leaks. Executive Director Trevor Timm described as anti-theatrical, try that again, anti-theatrical to a democracy that supposedly values free press. Extremely disappointing decision, whether it's the Obama administration or the Trump administration. The government should not be able to keep its rules for spying on journalists without a court order secret, Timm said in a statement. It is anti-theatrical to a democracy that supposedly values a free press. We are evaluating our options and will announce whether we will appeal the case soon. 1966 Freedom of Information Act, individuals can request copies of federal free or at a nominal cost, obligated to hand them over unless the disclosure could harm national security, violate personal privacy, or expose confidential decision-making, exemptions that authorities often abuse, according to critics. The next article I have is off BizPac Review. It says, media elites are freaking out over the one reporter allowed to travel with Tillerson to Asia. State Rex Tillerson is traveling around East Asia with only one reporter in tow, and the major media outlets are freaking out. Journalists at major outlets first began to panic when news broke last week that Tillerson did not plan the press with him on his trip to Japan, South Korea, and China. Bureau chiefs and editors for major media outlets such as Associated Press, the New York Times, Radio, BBC, CNN, Los Angeles Times, Voice of America, and few others informed the Department of State that they were deeply concerned by Tillerson's decision without them. Now, certain outlets are upset because Tillerson is not traveling alone. He is actually traveling with a reporter from a right-wing publication who is not a member of the press pool. Of Independent Journal Review is in Asia with the Secretary of State. New to IJR, McPike is a White House correspondent. However, she does not cover the State Department. Because she is not a member of the press pool, she likely will not be sharing information with the rest of the press corps. This is just an attempt to reach beyond the usual suspects, and I'm not saying that in a demeaning way at all. State Department spokesman Mark Toner revealed Wednesday, adding the department's latest move is part of an effort to include a broader representation of U.S. media. Correspondents Association said it was disappointed by the change in procedure, traveling abroad with full contingent of reporters for decades. After saying it was unable to accommodate press on the Secretary's plane to Asia due to space and budget constraints, the State Department offered a unilateral seat to one reporter, the organization explained. The State Department Correspondents Association is disappointed that Secretary Tillerson chose to travel this week to North Asia without a full contingent of diplomatic press corps or even a pool reporter. The State Department is in the beacon of press freedom around the world. The message now to China in particular, when he gets to Beijing, is that press freedom doesn't matter. Andrea Mitchell said in response, up until now, secretaries of state have made it a key demand that our press corps meetings, that there be access for the media. A key component of foreign policy is being undercut by this, she added. The Asia Program Coordinator of the Committee to Protect Journalists criticized Tillerson for his complete lack of transparency. Is this really the message they want to send to the public as well as other nations? Really? They must on some level realize that no one is fooled by the explanations. CNN diplomatic correspondent said. I covered state for more than 9 years. It is shocking and counterproductive for U.S. diplomacy, Glenn Kessler, the fact-checker columnist for the Washington Post, tweeted in response. The response to Toner's statement that the State Department wants to reach out to new audiences, a reporter asked. Conservative audiences? A new perspective, Toner replied. While McPike is the only reporter actually accompanying Tillerson on the plane, reporters who travel to Asia on standard commercial flights provided access to the Secretary of State. We don't take this opportunity lightly and recognize the contrast excess for the trip, IJR founder and chief executive Alex Skadel said in a statement. The next article, Tribune, and it's a slime fake news story, lands them in front of a jury. Y'all remember the pink slime? It says a judge in South Dakota has ruled a lawsuit against ABC News by a meat processing company, which claimed the network had smeared it with fake news in 2012, will be allowed to proceed to a jury trial. According to the Wall Street Journal, Judge Cheryl Gearing ruled partially in favor of Beef Products Incorporated claim that an ABC report by Jim Abilia that labeled their product pink slime ultimately caused $1.9 billion in damages after the company was forced to shutter 3 plants and lay off hundreds of workers because of publicity the report inspired. Look at the evidence in a light most favorable to the plaintiffs. The jury could determine that there is clear and convincing evidence that ABC Broadcasting and Mr. Abilia were reckless, Judge Gearing said, adding that they engaged in purposeful avoidance of the truth. The term pink slime refers to a product known as lean, finely textured beef, a product that has been deemed safe for consumption and which at the time of the report was found in roughly 70% of the ground beef available on grocery store shelves. Despite the ABC report making it clear that the product was indeed safe, the judge decided that the negative spin of the story and Avilia's rude, agitated, and hostile line of questioning to meat industry representatives could potentially be deemed libelous. Specifically related to food-related libel calls for legal damages to be tripled, meaning ABC could ultimately be on the hook for almost $6 billion. While the judge allowed the lawsuit against ABC and Abilia to proceed, she did throw out part of the lawsuit that alleged defamation on the part of former World News Tonight anchor Diane Sawyer, according to Deadline. In response to the ruling, an ABC statement read, "We are pleased that the court dismissed all claims against Diane Sawyer. The court has not ruled on the merits of the case against other defendants, and we welcome the opportunity to defend the ABC News reports at trial and are confident that we will ultimately prevail." In January, the lawyers for Beef Products was just as confident. This was fake news, Beef Products attorney J. Eric Connolly told the judge during arguments in January. According to the Wall Street Journal, it's perfectly safe, it's perfectly nutritious, it was properly USDA, there was no news here. There was nothing to rush out and talk about. There was no news. Initially attempted to move the lawsuit from state to federal court, thinking the network would receive a more favorable verdict or dismissal of the case, but a federal judge kicked it back down to state court in 2013. Get the hamster to work with me. There we go. Running with slanted smear piece and hit job for the sake of sensationalism or to advance an ideological agenda could prove costly to news outlets and just not worth it. The judge decides that's what ABC did. The next article is off of Western Journalism. France alert after school shooting, and there is video in this. Actually, this and the next article are both about the school shooting. So let's see here. France sent out a Terrorist attack warning Thursday after a school shooting took place at a high school in the southern French city of Graz. Police have arrested one person on the scene at the Lycée Alex de Tocqueville. The French Interior Ministry said a public security event was underway at the school. One report indicated that the shooting began as an incident between two students. One person fled the scene. Initial reports said that the headmaster was among those shot. One other person was reported wounded. One man reportedly entered the school armed with several weapons. Grassi is located near Nice, the site of a July 14th attack in which a truck driver plowed through a crowd of people, leaving 86 dead and about 300 injured. The attack was the second incident of the day in France. Earlier Thursday, a worker monetary fund in Paris was injured after opening a letter bomb. France has been operating under a state of emergency since the November 2015 terrorist attack in Paris, which killed 130 people. French officials have recently said they may consider lifting the declaration. And the final article in this episode, it's 24.com, and it says several injured in shooting at high school in French town of Grasse. Shooting at the high school in the southern French town of Grasse has left at least 8 people injured. The Interior Ministry said Thursday a 16-year-old student has been arrested in connection. Interior Ministry spokesman Pierre-Henri Brantet told BFM TV that 8 people had been injured and advised families to remain patient as police took control of the situation. The headmaster and 2 others suffered gunshot wounds, were injured in a stampede following the shooting. The 16-year-old student who was arrested was armed with a rifle, 2 handguns, and 2 grenades, a police source said, adding the individual does not seem to be known by police. A police official said there did not appear to be any other suspects, although authorities are still working to remove all doubt. Earlier reports said that there may have been a second shooter. A crisis center has been put in place after the attack at Tocqueville High School. Education official Emmanuel Ithis said on Twitter, Ithis urged worried parents not to come to the school, saying that pupils are safe. Cellule de Chris, well, I don't know, that's all French. I'm not going to try to read that whole thing. It's a tweet. It says a French prosecutor said that the the shooter's motivation appears to be linked to his troubled relationship with other students. Regional newspaper Nice Matin reported that the suspect had been a victim of bullying at the school. Benjamin, a 16-year-old student, described what he saw. Around 12:40 p.m., I was sitting down and finishing my meal. I heard a loud explosion and then 2 more. I turned around and saw someone in the courtyard shooting with a pump-action shotgun. He shot at the classroom windows that faced the courtyard. When I saw that, I started running. Local emergency service advised on Twitter that residents may stay home. A government also used its mobile phone application to warn of a possible terrorist attack. All schools in the town, some 40 kilometers, 25 miles west of the French city of Nice, have been locked down, education authorities said. Prime Minister Bernard Cazeneuve cut short a trip to the northern Somme area in light of the day's events, which included an earlier letter bomb at the offices of an International Monetary Fund in Paris that injured 1 person. The incidents come as France remains under state of emergency after several militant attacks over the past 2 years. It also comes less than 6 weeks before the first round of a presidential election in which security and terrorism are among the key issues. That's all I have for you in this episode, but there is more to follow. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Don't be afraid to let me know. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And that way you'll stay informed. And don't forget, live show, 8 o'clock tonight, Eastern Time, with a chat room. Hope to see you there. See you in the next episode.